Welcome to the first video on mastering your logical operators. In this video, we'll be introducing you to really the first steps in the construction of truth tables, but at the same time, we'll be really learning about what the meanings of two logical operators, the conjunction sign and the negation sign, actually are. So what do those two operators actually mean? Alright, so let's just dive straight into the content here. Okay, so we'll start with conjunction. Now, we've got a logically complex sentence here. It is cold and rainy. Now, as you'll well know, if you're up to this point, the sentence is composed of two logically simple sentences. They are P, it is cold, and Q, it is rainy. Now, these two simple sentences, again, obviously are linked together by the and or conjunction sign operator, and the entire, put it all together, and what that yields is P and Q. Alright, now to understand what and means, we actually need to know the circumstances under which sentences like P and Q are true and false. Alright, so again, we're looking at the sentence, it is cold and rainy, composed of these two simple sentences. Under what circumstances will P and Q be true, and under what circumstances will that construction be false? Alright, so if we have a look at this truth table here, alright, so essentially on a truth table, what we do is across the top line, we set out the statement that we want to look at. So we've got P and Q. Underneath, we're going to fill out some truth values. Okay, now the first thing to think about when we're looking at a statement like this, what are the possible combinations of truth values for our simple sentences that we could be dealing with? Now, so think about, P is it is cold, Q is it is rainy. Well, the first possibility to think about is that actually it is both cold and rainy. So that's what that looks like on the truth table. We've got a T for true under P, so it is true that P, it is true that it is cold. And we've also got a T under Q, it is true that it is rainy. Now the next possible set of truth values or situation that we could be faced with here is this one, T under P, F under Q. So basically what that is describing is a situation where yes, P is true, so it is cold, but actually it's not rainy, so Q is false. Okay, the next possible combination is that now, okay, this time it's not actually cold, so P is false, so we get an F for false under P, but we've got a T for true under Q, so it is rainy. It is not cold, but it is rainy. And then finally, we've just got two Fs, F for P and F for Q, so it is neither cold nor rainy. Okay, so that's the first thing that you do when you're setting up a truth table, is that you account for, using your horizontal rows, you account for all the possible combinations of truth values that you could have for your simple sentences. Now, when you've only got two simple sentences, there's only four possible combinations, so we only have 4 rows. If we had a third simple sentence, then we'd actually have to double the number of rows. We'd end up with 8. Add a fourth, double again, so you end up with 16 and so forth. So really truth tables, they're very, very useful when you're dealing with logical formulae that only contain a small number of simple sentences. Once you get into formulae that contain more than about 3 or maybe 4, it really, truth tables really become fairly impractical. But the examples we'll be looking at here only contain 2. Alright, so now we've actually accounted for all the possible combinations of truth values for P and Q. The next thing that we do is we turn to this middle column. Now in the middle column, what we'll want to do is we'll actually want to say, okay, if P is true and Q is true, then what is the truth value of the entire formula. Okay, now think about this. P and Q. So P is it is cold, Q is it is rainy. If it is cold and it is rainy, so P is true and Q is true, what's the truth value of the entire formula? Well, of course, it will be true. So we put a T on the top row, we put a T in the middle column under the logical operator, the AND operator or the conjunction sign there. Okay. Okay, so far so good. What about the second row? We've got T and we've got F this time. So what if it's cold but it's not rainy and I say it is cold and rainy? Is what I've said true or false? Well, actually, if you think about that, I think you'll agree with me that in order for P and Q, it is cold and rainy to be true, it needs to be both cold and rainy. If it's not rainy, then P and Q, it's cold and rainy, is actually false. So we put an F into that cell there. We put an F there under the AND on that second row where we've got a T for P and an F for Q. Okay, what about if it's not cold but it is rainy? What then will be the truth value of the sentence, it is cold and rainy? Well, again, it's going to be false. And then obviously, if it's neither cold nor rainy and I say it's cold and rainy, well then again the entire construction will be false. Okay, so our rule for conjunction is this. The entire conjunction is true if and only if both conjuncts, if both sides of the conjunction are true. Okay, so that one should be pretty easy to remember. If you've got t's on both sides, then you can have a t in the middle, but otherwise it's going to be an f in the middle. Okay, now we'll also deal with negation in this video. So have a look at this logically complex sentence here. It is not rainy. Now this one is composed of only one simple sentence, it is rainy, and one logical operator again, which is this time is the negation sign. Now to understand the circumstances, or to understand what the negation sign means, we need to know what the circumstances are in which sentences like not P are true and false. So again, here's our truth table. Now, you might be wondering, why does this one only have two horizontal rows instead of four? Well, we're only dealing with one simple sentence. And if we're only dealing with one simple sentence, then we only have two different truth values for our simple sentence that we need to worry about. P is either true or it is false. Okay, so much for P. What about the entire construction not P? Well, if P, it is rainy, is true, then what is the truth value of the sentence, it is not rainy? So imagine a circumstance where it actually is rainy and I say it's not rainy. Is what I've said true or false? Well, it's false. Okay, so under not P, okay, main operator for our formula, because it's the only operator, we put the truth value for the entire construction, entire formula as F. Okay, if P is true, then not P is false. Okay, but what about if P is false? So it actually isn't rainy. The simple sentence, it is rainy, is false. What then is the truth value of not P? Well, obviously, in those circumstances, not P will be true. So under the negation sign on this second row, where P is false, we actually put AT. Okay, so now the rule for negation, based on what we've just seen, if P is true, then not P is false, and if P is false, then not P is true. So essentially, the truth value that you'll put under a negation sign on a particular row will be the opposite of whatever the truth value for the formula that you're negating is on that row. Okay, so for the next quiz, you'll actually have to have a look at the next couple of videos. This one only covers conjunction and negation. You'll have to have a look at the next video, which covers the disjunction signs. There's actually two of them. And then after that, the conditional signs. Okay, so good luck with that.